There are a lot of Aegon Targaryens throughout the series. Aegon, son of Gaemon and Daenerys, was very important during a chaotic time called the Century of Blood. As Lord of Dragonstone, he protected the Targaryen family and raised his children, Maeghan and Aerys. His work helped the Targaryen family get ready to conquer Westeros. Over 100 years later, Aegon the Conqueror emerged with a grand ambition to unite the Seven Kingdoms under Targaryen rule. He arrived with his sisters and their dragons and started the conquest of Westeros. Even though many resisted, he united 6 kingdoms, created the Iron Throne, and founded King's Landing. His rule started a dynasty that lasted for centuries. He famously said, "The Iron Throne is mine by rights. All those who deny that are my foes," showing his determination and authority. 70 years after the death of Aegon the Conqueror, the firstborn son of Aenys the First Targaryen and Alyssa Valerian tried to claim the Iron Throne. This Aegon faced intense civil unrest and opposition from his uncle, Maegor Targaryen. Despite leading his forces and getting support, he failed. His struggle showed the brutal family conflicts and ambition, earning him the title, the Uncrowned Prince. His fight against Maegor showed bravery, but also the tragic conflicts within House Targaryen. 9 years after the death of the last Aegon, the next Aegon was born. He was the firstborn of King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne. This Aegon was born too early and died 3 days later. This newest Aegon was named after the last two Aegon and Aegon. 32 years later, the youngest child of Baelon Targaryen and Alyssa Targaryen was born too early. His birth caused the death of his mother, Alyssa Targaryen. He lived less than a year, so that's 2 Aegons that didn't make it past being babies. Then we skip forward 23 years before the next Aegon. This is the one in the House of the Dragon show. He tried to be king after his father, Jaehaerys I, passed. He faced strong opposition from his half-sister Rhaenyra, leading to the Dance of the Dragons. Although he gained power temporarily, his brutal rule deepened the divide in House Targaryen. Civil wars with dragons are bad. 13 years after that Aegon, we get our next one because we learn nothing about confusing names. This Aegon tried to stabilize Westeros after the Dance of the Dragons. His rule saw the extinction of dragons, a major change. Despite personal losses and political challenges, he brought some stability and left a legacy of resilience, shaping the future of the Targaryen dynasty. 22 years after that Aegon passed, our next one is born. Aegon the Unworthy indulged in excess and corruption, neglecting his realm. His decision to legitimize all his bastards led to the Blackfyre Rebellion. His rule, marked by misrule and indulgence, left a legacy of chaos and division, showing the dangers of unchecked power. His reign is often cited as an example of the problems of prioritizing personal pleasure over leadership responsibilities. 16 years after Aegon IV's death, Aegon the Unlikely tried to reform and improve the lives of the small folk. Despite resistance from nobles, his dedication to justice marked a shift in Targaryen rule. The tragedy at Summerhall overshadowed his efforts, but his legacy of idealism and reform influenced future generations. His rule is remembered for his earnest efforts to bring positive change and his tragic end at Summerhall. 73 years after Aegon V's death, the third-born son of King Aerys II Targaryen and Queen Rhaella Targaryen symbolized hope during a troubled reign. He only lived about a year, and the cause of his passing is unknown. So he's the third Aegon to die as a baby. This is totally unrelated to their parents being siblings. Finally, 9 years after the death of Aegon, son of Aerys II, the second child and only son of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and Princess Aelia Martell, was seen as the prince that was promised. His life symbolized hope for Targaryen restoration. Sadly, he died during the sack of King's Landing, representing lost potential and the brutal end of House Targaryen's rule. His tragic end during Robert's Rebellion highlighted the devastating consequences of the conflict for House Targaryen. The last Aegon Targaryen mentioned is supposedly that baby, but grown up after being raised by his adoptive father. He claims his parents are the late Rhaegar Targaryen and Aelia Martell. This Aegon later meets Tyrion Lannister and tells Tyrion that he plans to marry Dany for the throne. Tyrion convinces him that that's a bad idea. And this is the Aegon that is still alive in the series. So we had one Aegon from before the Targaryens started ruling Westeros, 5 King Aegons, 3 Aegons that died of birth complications, and only 2 that didn't live past the age of 1 that didn't get to be king. So I guess name your baby Aegon and hope people get confused into making it a king or something.